Hey, it's Mazzy, and welcome back to the channel. Ranking the Lost Albums by Bruce Springsteen. Now that I've digested this box set, Tracks 2, over a week, I've listened to every album at least 5 times. Mostly on vinyl, since my initial 2 Apple Play videos, but also another drive I was in the car and listening to this, and it's a great driving set. Now, set is probably the wrong thing about this because they are individual albums and each album has a different vibe. Although there are 3 core albums here that have similar vibes and really, I latch on to that. I really like that country, folksy, Americana sound. And in the last week, I've also been reading a lot of comments on my first video on this set as well as in the forums. And I'm actually really surprised. There's so many people said, I listen to it, I just don't get it. I want more rock and roll. I want that, people expect this 75-year-old artist to rock all the time. Now, Bruce does still rock if you've seen him live lately. I have not, but I've seen clips of him and he can still do that rock and roll. But I think the best part of this music is the stuff, the more introspective stuff, the political, social songs, the mood pieces. I adore that. And I'm finding that my favorite albums are not the favorite albums by a lot of the other listeners on the forums. They want more rock and roll. Now, I think calling this set Tracks 2 maybe wasn't the best thing to do, but, marketing-wise, I understand. There's the box set Tracks 2. Tracks 1, obviously, in 1998, was a lot of outtakes, and they didn't have no rhyme or reason to them, but just a lot of cuts that people have been wanting Bruce to put out. Some surprises for a lot of us, some we knew about, or I have to say we. In fact, that's the thing that drives me crazy when I read these forums. We've already heard that, or we don't want that, we want something else. I think, the artist's intent, whatever the artist wants, fine by me. These are all songs he's done over a 35-year period, I think. And all the vocals are from the time period. There were some updates musically and instrumentation-wise on some of these records. And I don't care. I take every album as an individual piece of music. So I'm going to do that. It should have been called, in my opinion, the subtitle is the perfect name, and that is The Lost Albums, because I think especially 5 of these albums are the lost albums, or the albums that we haven't heard in full, intact like this. And I love that in this set, especially I'm sure if you have CDs, which I don't have, but the vinyl, each cover art, each presentation is individual and works on its own merit. So I decided to rank them. This is one man's opinion. This man right here, Bruce Springsteen fan since 1974, I think, is when I got into his second album. And then, of course, I first saw Bruce Springsteen on the Born to Run tour, twice on that tour in October of 1975. And again, the most incredible single rock and roll performance I've seen in my entire life. Yes, I like his rockin' too, but I like the maturity of his songwriting here. Is there some overlap, some things that could be improved on? If he had finished these, absolutely. But I think these hold up, and obviously some more than others. Your taste is going to vary, especially that guy over there who doesn't like the moody stuff of Bruce Springsteen, apparently. All he wants to rock. He just wants to rock. But I like rock too, obviously. But starting at number 7, the LA Garage Session. Now, this is the only album that's very much a collection of demos. Some seem incomplete. Some, you could tell if they would continue on them like they did with My Hometown, and that these things would turn into other finished pieces. I do like this. This is a double album, one of 2 double albums in the set. 1983, these are the songs he recorded, home demos above his garage in Los Angeles, California, the LA sessions. There is a link after this to that first video. I get into a little more details. But again, I don't take deep dives. But number 7, this is number 7 because even though I like it, it's a hodgepodge of stuff. Even though it's around the same period, it doesn't feel like a realized album. Now, that's great. That's, in a way, like I said with the final album, the way the whole concept of these lost albums, the demo type things of tracks one. And I think that is the essence of what that concept was that doesn't quite fit overall here. Maybe in a perfect world, I would have liked tracks two to be this sort of stuff and record number 7, and have the lost albums as a separate concept of collection. There is going to be, already we know, a tracks 3, more lost albums. Again, I think it maybe works conceptually wise, marketing wise from Springsteen and Sony Music to call them tracks because people have expectations. But I think some people had the wrong expectations about this because these final albums have a vibe. They each have their own vibe. So coming in number 7 to me is the LA Garage Sessions. Again, not to say this is a bad record, not at all. This is really cool. But I think as a cohesive piece, it doesn't fit as much as some of the other ones. Coming in number 6, the crooner album, Twilight Hours. Now, I do love this record, and I compared it to how Dylan worked with the triplicate record and the Sinatra-style records. I like this kind of stuff. I mean, obviously, a lot of artists over the years did sort of the standards and things, but both Dylan and Harry Nilsson, with a little touch of Schmilson in the night, and so many others, Brian Ferry just put on vinyl as time goes by. They took the classic songbook records, and this is more like, as I said, the Elvis Costello-Burt Bacharach matchup. New songs, newly written in that form of Nelson Riddle type of strings, orchestration, some just beautiful ballads. I like this record a lot. And even coming in number 6, it doesn't mean it's a terrible record because it's not. It's a crooner record. And again, I hate to kind of bring you guys up that all you want is rock and roll Springsteen. This is something that maybe you should just take a chill pill and listen to and enjoy it for what it is. Light a candle, rub some balm on, put some incense on, smoke a joint, have a glass of whiskey, have a cocktail, New York nightlife type of thing at the Carlisle Hotel. I could see Bruce doing a week at the Carlisle Hotel on the Upper East Side, just doing this kind of music. That would be hysterical. Now that would be a documentary, kind of like the Roy Orbison Black and White Night. Remember that movie? It kind of had that feel, even though there's rockers. You know, there's a lot of Roy Orbison influence in some of these records all along, and I didn't mention on the other album video I did, but there's a lot of that. I think this is a really cool album, but it is number 6 in terms of my favorite now. Who knows? I think, like anything, listening to albums, you know, it's hard to evaluate in a week, listening 5 times, crash course. But, you know, people want to know gut feelings. And I've been reading comments by some of you that will say, I just played a few of the cuts, I've been streaming it, and I can't stand it. You have to take every album individually, in my opinion. And as much as streaming is fine when I'm driving on the Apple thing, again, as they mix together, you don't know which is which. And it's a bunch of songs, and it's a lot to digest, those 83 or so songs at once. So I totally get those of you who aren't getting it. I have no idea if they're going to reissue any of these individually. It'd be cool. Obviously, people want the rockers. Those will probably sell more, the comps, that first comp, or the one that's coming up a little bit. But anyway, number 6, the Twilight Hours, the crooner record by Bruce Springsteen, coming in at number 6. Coming number 5, this was the final record in the set. This is the one that is true concept-wise to tracks 1. This is a bunch of rockers for the most part, a lot of random songs from different periods and different times that he put together. And I think this defines, is a best representation of the tracks concept as originally conceived in 1998. This is a really nice record. This is more of the Bruce Springsteen that I think a lot of Bruce Springsteen people expect. But, you know, I still think the Western Stars, which is, to me, the best Bruce Springsteen album in the last quarter century, is fantastic. Going back to Nebraska, we all know what a great album that is, but I suspect a lot of the rockers were disappointed with Nebraska when it came out, or Devils and Dust. And, you know, when he switched and did the Seeger Sessions, I love those two, the live Seeger Sessions album, and of course, the Seeger Sessions. I love when Bruce takes these detours in Americana and protest music and rootsy music. That is something that I latch onto at this point in my life. Going back to the 70s, that's why I constantly talk about Americana and the early country rock of the Byrds and the Burrito Brothers and Graham Parsons and Emmylou Harris and the Gene Clarks and that rootsy stuff. I adore that stuff. So anyway, coming in at number 5, this is Perfect World, Bruce Springsteen. Coming in number 4, a surprise to a lot of people, but really when you heard the single, this shouldn't seem like a surprise, but this is Streets of Philadelphia Sessions. Of course, I think they should have put that single on here, even though this is all about outtakes and all about unreleased material. I think that would have been a nice thing to add here, or at least the song, if there is a kind of work in progress version. I just think that would add to it. I mean, obviously, calling it the Philadelphia Sessions makes you long for that great hit, which was a huge hit for Bruce at the time. This is where he's getting into electronic pop and loops, that type of thing, which is very, very different to what he was doing, experimenting. And there's a mood and a vibe to this, which is excellent. I've been reading a lot of people thinking this is their favorite in this set because it is so different. And I wouldn't disagree with that at all. It's not my number 1. Obviously, here it's my number 4. It's a single album. Again, these are all beautifully gatefold and all have a vibe on their own. I love the artwork on all these records. This looks like, is that a frame maybe, as I recall from the music video where he's walking, singing the song. I just really adore that. So Bruce Springsteen's the Philadelphia Sessions, coming in at number 4 on my ranking list of the Bruce Springsteen Lost Album Collection. Coming in number 3. Now this is one I've been reading that people love a lot, and this is a number 1 for a lot of people. This is Somewhere North of Nashville, his country album, his twang album. Some people are complaining when Bruce's voice switches, when he kind of gets into that Southern Texas drawl thing, or Nashville, Tennessee drawl thing of country music. That's part of intention. I mean, a lot of artists get into the folk, get into the Southern thing, get into rootsy stuff. They tend to go there. I mean, even the British folks who sing with American accents, kind of look at Rocky Raccoon, Paul McCartney. That ain't no Liverpool accent, babe. Springsteen, Somewhere North of Nashville, a very country album. I've heard also people, and I understand this, say, I would take off Repo Man, and I think it's Stand on it that has more of a rockabilly vibe, a really loud in your face. The rocker on here, they want it off because they want the vibe of that kind of moody, beautiful country music on here to keep that vibe. I understand that. And I know people are fooling around, and people who are downloading it or have the CD are making their own playlist, and that's fun too. I just like that when an artist makes an album like this, and there's always something that you may not latch on to begin with, but I think this is an excellent album. Again, they're all gatefolds again with the Danny Clinch pictures, I believe, in this. I just love this. So Bruce Springsteen, Somewhere North of Nashville, coming at number 3 on the Lost Album ranking video. Coming in number 2 is Faithless. This is his spiritual gospel-y album. This is the album of the imaginary spiritual Western movie that never happened. There's a vibe to this that is so just touching. The spiritual side of it really kind of plays out, and I'm very curious what this movie would have been like. And I don't remember if I read this. Maybe someone can answer. Was the movie actually made? Because usually you don't write music until theoretically the music's made, unless the music is incorporated in the storyline opposed to just putting it over certain things. But this is a fantastic album. Obviously, you have 3-4 instrumentals on here that really kind of bridge the songs together, bring it cohesive feel to it. There's a gospel vibe of children's singers on here. Just a gorgeous soundscape. Again, as I said in that first video, very reminiscent of the Ry Cooder soundtracks. And of course, very influenced by Ry Cooder's soundtrack for The Border, especially that song that was a big favorite of Bruce Springsteen that was co-written by Ry Cooder, John Hyatt, and Jim Dickinson, and covered by so many people, from Freddie Fender on that soundtrack to Willie Nelson. Just a lot of people have covered The Border. Gabby, the woman from Guatemala who did a great version of it on Non-Such, Gabby Moreno, which is so wonderful. It coexists with this a beautiful arrangement by Van Dyke Parks with a great guitar solo, bottle solo by Ry Cooder. You know, I keep thinking Ry Cooder and Bruce Springsteen doing, you know, let Ry Cooder do the instrumental passages and Bruce gets some songs. Now that would be a combination that I would kind of love. And this is the closest that we get that. This is a gorgeous record. You know, this is, again, like pulling the soundtrack off. Maybe some don't consider that as a proper album, but, you know, there's some soundtracks that have become legendary as proper albums. Think of Bob Dylan's Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. That could be right in the vibe of some of these records. This sequence of 3 Americana type things of the Nashville record, this one, and my #1 record. And again, this record doesn't seem to be getting as much love on people on the forums that I've read. And this is Inyo. Inyo is my favorite record. To me, this is a wonderful album. This is, again, another beautiful gatefold. This probably has the best package and artwork of all the records. It includes a massive book. Again, you can look through my other video where I really get into the whole content of this a little more in detail. Not a lot more. I don't kind of lay everything out and go through song by song. But there's something about this, the Mexicali feel, the mariachi bands. There's a great kind of a mariachi piece of music that starts with almost this gypsy violin solo that builds up, and then the mariachi comes in. And beautiful Spanish vibe to this record that I love. Again, probably the most political of these, talking about migration and immigration. And again, I compared it to not really musically, but a lot of Ry Cooder works, especially Chavez Ravine, about migrants being, you know, displaced because of Dodger Stadium in that case. But talking about the water rights of California on here. There's historical things. Inyo was the valley, I believe, the area where the farmers were battling with the Los Angeles at the time, who were building the city, early days of Hollywood, and building Los Angeles as a metro center and kind of stealing the waters. Being from Northern California, growing up in Northern California, there's always been that yin-yang thing of give and take between Southern California and Northern California, because Northern California has the water and Southern California has a lot of the political, you know, might. At least it used to be. Obviously, the Bay Area has changed quite a bit. But being a Californian, 60 years in California, this really means a lot to me. And the whole, you know, being a border town, of course, I didn't live on the border, down by San Diego, down by Tijuana, Mexico, but living amongst a lot of Latinos in the Mission District for 25 years, from Mexico and Central and South America, I kind of get a vibe of this. And to me, you know, this is the most topical album of the set. And to me, it's just rich with beauty, with wonderment. You know, it's not always an upbeat, joyous record, but the music, Latin music and Mexican music, tends to bring a joy, at least to me. You know, in the neighborhood, I've heard that all the time. I love bands like Los Lobos, who would mix the acoustic instruments with the electronic kind of, electric instruments, I should say, of rock and roll and jam band type stuff. And this is an incredible album. I think this, you know, if this was released on its own this year, this would be one of my favorite albums of 2025. And it's going to make my list, and somehow I'm going to shoehorn it in as a new record, because to me, this is a new record. And the #1 record, my favorite record, even though I like all of them, different levels of enjoyment. Inyo, for me, is the greatest Bruce Springsteen album, the #1 Bruce Springsteen album in the Lost Album Collection in 2025. And so on to, next year? Tracks 3, more Lost albums, and probably another set of outtakes. We'll see how that goes. But anyway, thanks for watching. Enjoy the music, because that's what it comes down to. And again, I don't think of these albums in terms of when they came out and, oh, he should have done this album after that album, and this is more of a companion to Dust and Devils and Dust and Nashville and I'm losing it here. I don't think that matters for me musically. I don't give a crap when it came out, when it was recorded. I'm just thinking it all on its own as an album. That's my opinion. That's my take on these albums. So thanks for watching. Put your comments below. You can bitch about the prices all you want. You can go stream it for free. So just stream it then, okay? And stop bitching about prices. Yes, it's not cheap, but you can kind of trade some things in it and get it at your local store maybe. Trade some of that crap, those Supertramp albums that you have or something. Thanks. Mazzy loves you.